Plastic has been found in human blood for the first time. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil, and joining me for this programme is Roy. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Neil, and hello, everybody. If you would like to test yourself on the vocabulary around this story, all you need to do is head to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, to take a quiz. But now, let me tell you more about this news story. So, a study found plastic particles in blood samples in 80% of people tested. This study was first published in the journal Environment International. These findings suggest that plastic particles might have the ability to move around the human body and enter organs. The effects of microplastics in the body aren't known, but researchers say that the new results are concerning and that microplastics could damage human cells.
Okay, you've been looking around the various news websites at this story. You've picked out some really interesting vocabulary from headlines. What have you got?
We have filtered out key risks and adverse effects.
Filtered out key risks and adverse effects. So let's start with your first headline then, please, Roy.
Okay, so our first headline comes from Fortune and it reads, "Tiny particles of plastic have been detected in human blood for the very first time. They can't be filtered out."
Filtered out, removed completely.
Okay, so this is a phrasal verb. First word is filtered, F-I-L-T-E-R-E-D. Second word out, O-U-T. Now, this is a separable phrasal verb, which means it can filter something out or you can filter out something. And it basically means to remove something completely or to purify.
Yeah, so the key here is the word filter that we can see in filtered. And a filter as an object is something which prevents bad stuff going one way, and therefore you're only left with good stuff.
Yeah. So the idea, for example, a good idea of this is a water filter. So when you're drinking water, you maybe put water through a filter to remove or filter out impurities. Filter out as a phrasal verb. The out part, the second word implies remove everything. So, for example, when I'm editing a video, I try to filter out all the noise, the background noise, and just leave the voices of the presenters. So filter out background noise in a video edit.
Okay, that's interesting, Roy. So we're not just talking about fluids, like in the example, blood, or as you just said, water. We can filter other things too.
Absolutely. So let's talk about people. If you're doing a survey, maybe you want to only look at certain groups of people. So we filter out people from the survey, unwanted groups of people, if you like.
Okay, anything else we need to say about this?
Oh, we talked earlier about the word filter. Now, the word filter has other meanings. Filter can mean to remove impurities. Or, for example, if you're doing some work on spreadsheets and you want to refine the results, you could filter the results. Another way that we can use filter is that people, sometimes when they leave a building, they may leave in a sort of small line, a thin line, and we say they are filtering out of the building. Again, quite commonly we use the preposition out. And one final way, if news doesn't come out all at once, maybe a breaking story comes out in pieces, we can say that the news is filtering or filtering out, commonly used with the preposition out again.
That's right, yes, because a filter slows down the progress of something, doesn't it, in order to make it pure.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get a summary. Talking of filtering things, we have a story about pollution. What can our viewers do to watch that, Roy?
All you need to do is click the link in the description below.
Okay, let's have a look at your next headline, please.
Okay, so our next headline comes from The Express and it reads, "Extremely concerning. Nearly 80% of people's blood may contain microplastics. Key risks.
Key risks. Most significant potential dangers.
Okay, so key risks is a two-word expression. The first word is key, K-E-Y. The second word is risks, R-I-S-K-S. And it means the most significant or most significant potential dangers.
Yeah, okay, so Roy, I know what a key is. A key is a little metal thing I use to open my front door. Is there a connection between this meaning and that meaning?
Well, yeah, when we talk about, interestingly there, when we talk about keys, it's a very important thing, right? Because it opens the door. Without a key, you're not getting in your house. So when we use the word key in this sense, we're talking about something that is very significant, the most significant thing. So we're talking about the most significant risks, the key risks. We also use the word key to talk about something very important.
Yeah, we talk about key points, don't we?
Yeah, so if you're making a speech, maybe you have a few key points that you want to talk about. Other ways that we use key, you can talk about a key moment, maybe in your life or in your day, something really important. Or you could talk about a key role in the workplace, somebody who is very important.
Yeah, you can also simply say that something or someone is key.
Yes, or the key to something. It is key to something.
Okay, so risks. Risks are potential dangers.
Yes, that's right. So when you go climbing, for example, there is a risk of falling, a danger of falling, especially if you don't use the correct equipment when you're climbing. Or in sort of lighter terms than that, you could sort of say that, talking about the weather, you could say there is a risk of rain. It might rain today. Now, in both of those cases, both falling and rain, it is a negative thing that we don't want to happen, and it is in danger potentially of happening.
That's right. Okay, let's get a summary. Okay, we will be talking about effects in our next headline, and that is a word which is often confused with another word, affect, and we've got a program explaining the difference, haven't we, Roy?
Yes, we do. All we need to do to watch that is click the link in the description below.
Right, your next headline, please.
Okay, so our next headline is about how potentially plastics may enter the bloodstream, and it is from News Medical, and it reads, Adverse health effects of micro and nanoplastic particles in food.
Adverse effects, negative and harmful consequences.
Okay, so this is a two-word expression. First word, adverse, it is A-D-V-E-R-S-E. Second word, effects, E-F-F-E-C-T-S. And basically what it means is negative, unwanted, or potentially harmful consequences or results.
Okay, so this word adverse, tell me about that. It's an adjective, right?
Yeah, so we talk quite commonly about things like adverse effects of too much television or maybe too much social media. Now, adverse can be used in a number of ways, and it means very bad or negative. So you're talking about the negative, damaging effects of social media. In terms of weather, you could talk about adverse weather conditions when they are maybe unexpected and potentially dangerous weather conditions. Or maybe you're in an adverse situation. Now, it's mainly used for quite serious situations which involve danger. I wouldn't really use this word in sort of everyday use. I wouldn't say, oh, I had an adverse conversation yesterday. It's more for something really serious and potentially dangerous.
Yeah, a situation in which there is adversity, and adversity is the noun form of that word adverse.
Yes, and you mentioned nouns there. So also the word effect and effects. As we mentioned with the English in a minute, we talk about that. Effect with an A, A-F-F-E-C-T is the verb, and effect is E-F-F-E-C-T, and it is the noun. Now, you can affect somebody as a verb, or you can have an effect on somebody. Now, important to notice that these two words are both neutral. You can have a positive or negative effect. It is the adjective before that changes the meaning.
Okay, let's get a summary, Roy. Time now for a recap of our vocabulary, please, Roy.
Okay, we had filtered out, removed completely. We had adverse effects, negative and harmful consequences. And we had key risks, most significant potential dangers.
If you want to test yourself on the vocabulary, there's a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com. Go there and take the test. Thanks for joining us, and see you again soon.
Bye!